Hey everyone, it's Cathy Zielske. Welcome back to my channel and the craft/dining room. I have got the coolest card to share today. It's a box. Today I'll be creating a 3D box card, and even though the elements that I incorporated were very simple, I love this concept. I am so excited to try more 3D boxes, and I hope you will be too. To see my 3D box card, stick around. It's coming up next. It's a box. Here's a look at the 3D box card I'll be creating today, and I'm telling you this, if you've never created a card with this kind of pop-up dimension, it might just blow your mind. Definitely blew mine, so let's take a look at the products I'm using today. This is the basic box card die, and this is the panel that creates the box itself, and it comes with two other dies to create windows for the box. Then you have this set called the Basic Box Card Hearts, and this contains 3 pieces that are all designed to work with the original box die to create different layers of dimension inside the box to create depth and decor. Now, I'm only going to use the heart die and the scallop window opening die. That's what I'm focusing on. I wanted to keep it simple. Those are the basics. So let's start. I'm going to do an ink blended panel first. Now I could have die cut the die out first and then added my color, but I wanted to keep it simple. So I just thought, Kath, you're gonna just ink blend a panel first, then die cut. So this is very simple ink blending. I'm keeping it monochromatic. I have 3 colors of distress inks. I'm using Kitsch Flamingo, which I think I got a little dark when I first started. I also have worn lipstick and picked raspberry. I just wanted pink, nothing heroic here, right? And I'm using 80-pound Neenah Solar White Classic Crest because I thought as I'm building up these panels inside my box card, it probably would be best to have a lighter weight cardstock for the innards, if you will. So all I'm doing here is ink blending. I'm using my little waffle flower stencil mat. I like this because it holds my cardstock in place as I go. And the goal here, of course, is to make sure I incorporate all of the hearts. And I thought it would be nice to have the little tabs incorporated too, but you're not going to see those once they get folded down. So you can do this, with ink blending, or you could make any sort of funky background, or you could just use a piece of pink cardstock. I thought about that too, but because the final design ends up being so simple, I'm really glad that I did the ink blended background. I'm going to cut that panel out on my Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine, run that through, and out comes my ink blended heart layer. Looks just like this. All right, I'm going to set that aside. Next, I'm going to take another piece of 80-pound cardstock and cut out the scallop window opening layer. And again, these have the tabs and the score lines built into the dies to show you where you're going to be folding. Next, I'll cut out the 2 panels for the box. I'll start out here. I place it at an angle just so that when the die goes through, it doesn't take the full force of that long, flat side of the die. I've heard it keeps your plates from warping. Yeah, might be true. But now that I've got this panel, I'm going to flip it around here. You can see the score lines. There you go. And I'm going to take one of the windows and I'm going to use, I think that's the smaller of the, I'm not sure which one I used. I'll know shortly. I'm going to cut out the window. I put that panel on the side with the fold score line, right? And now I'm going to cut out another one of these. This is so I can complete the box. This panel itself does not need to have any windows cut out of it because that is going to make up the back side of the card. So now I've got 2 panels ready for my box. I thought while I had the die cut machine out, I would cut out a few XOXOs from a little Trio of Love word die set that I designed for Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to cut out a couple in white just so that I can build up a little bit of dimension. So there's one little white friend, and I will cut out another for 2. Then I took a scrap of matte silver cardstock to cut out the 3rd layer so I have a shiny XOXO. So here are all the pieces for the box card, and now it's time to add some adhesive in key strategic locations. And I'm going to use the thinnest double-sided tape that I have. I think this is a 1/8 inch. And first, I'm going to line the opening of the panel that's going to have the window with this tape because I'm going to make a little acetate window so that I can put things on top of the box. So I'll add the adhesive down, give it a nice burnish with my little tool here. And then I'm also, while I'm here, I'm going to add another strip of adhesive to the flap. And I'm going to place this right above that score line, just like that. And that I'm going to leave on for now because that's going to help me assemble the entire piece at the end. But again, I'll give it a good press. And now I will go ahead and trim down a little piece of acetate. And I'm just using the Simon Heat Safe acetate. It's just a regular old acetate, but you can emboss on it. But I'm just going to line it up here right on the tape. Make sure it is centered between both score lines for this card so that it doesn't impede the folds. And now my window is in place. Looks great. Next, I'll add the thin adhesive to the panels that are going to go on the inside. Again, I'm putting them on, I call it the front side because those are going to fold in. They're going to fold away from the piece itself. And again, I think that this type of double-sided adhesive tape is really good for something like this because it is a very strong adhesive. And where it sticks, well, it's not going to move. So I'll make sure to burnish those down and also give them a good fold because you want to make sure the folds are clean and in place. At least this is how I chose to do it. I don't know if you could do it without folding, but this way it lets me know that the folds are good to go when it comes time to collapse the card. All right, opening those up. This is, I'm telling you, it's like science. I didn't know if this was going to work, to be honest with you, but I have faith. All right, going to fold down the flap next to the window, and again, give it a press. And you have to be, gentle with that fold because the score lines are there to help you guide, but trust me, you'll see in a minute, I kind of misfolded something, but it still ended up working. See that? Give it a little press until you see the cardstock. Give way to that score line and press. Again, I like the Neenah Solar White for this because it really didn't crack. I mean, there's a tiny bit in the lower area that looked like it might have wanted to crack, but it didn't. And so it's time to start adhering elements. Now, I took the adhesive off one side of this, flipped it over, okay, just like this, lined up that panel top to bottom, and that is the first layer. Then moved on to the hearts. And as I pulled that off, I pulled all the adhesive off. That's why it was good that I was doing a voiceover because I may have had some unsavory language, but unsavory language aside, got another strip on there, okay? It's all going to be good. Folded it back down, lined it up, and here I brought in my T-square just to make sure that the next layer was completely perpendicular on the piece. Now, I have both of these flappy layers all in place like that. The next thing, I'm going to fold down the other side or piece, if you will, of the box. Make sure it's straight. Give that a press. And here's where I kind of mucked it up a little. I went to add my adhesive, and that part I did, well, quite well. So good job, Kathy. Way to go. But when I went to fold it down, I missed the fold a little. But I can't stress enough that even if you kind of mess up the fold, I just folded it too far because those score lines are dainty, right? They're there as a guide. But once I gave it the actual commitment of the press, and I was panicking here, I'm not going to lie. I said, Kathy, go for it. And it actually turned out fine. Maybe it's a hair off, but the fold was good enough for me, right? Close enough in horseshoes and hand grenades. Is that it? I keep messing it up. Okay, now you take the adhesive off that piece you just taped and released, right? I brought in the other panel like this because that was it. I thought this is going to work got it lined up, made sure it was straight from top to bottom, pressed it together, and voila, we have adhered the box portion together. Then you flatten down your inner panels, your innards, release the tape, hold it in place, and bring the other panel over. Now I pressed it down and I realized I was a little off at the top, so I picked it up again, and there. I just wanted to make sure the cardstock at the top was flush. And now press and really let that adhesive stick. See that? Now we're going to release the backer off that little tab, and we're going to bring it up. I could have just kept it flat. I don't know why I decided I had to bring it all up. I think because in my mind I needed to see it come together. But either way, pressing that down, making sure it stayed together, and you can see you can just flatten it to do this as well. And again, give it a really good press. And that's the flat card, and then look what happens when you pop it up. Isn't that fun? I don't know. I don't know how the people who designed this, people that I work with at Simon Says Stamp, they're geniuses. Next, I took some shiny cardstock. This is a glitter cardstock. I trimmed it to the same size as the back of this panel. Now, here's the thing. I should have done this first, but because I didn't really know how this all came together, this was trial and error, I added it after the fact. But before you glue the box together, you can add different things to the layers on the inside or to the background. So keep that in mind if you decide to do this, because as you'll see, I decided to add things to the actual box, and I did it. It was a little tricky, but let's move on to our greeting. I'm going to use spray glue, just add a little to the back of both the shiny silver piece and just one of the white XOXOs. Just going to do this to build up some dimension on that greeting. So I'll line up the two white cutouts first, and then I'll take that matte silver shiny cardstock and pop that on top for a little burst of shiny silver. I think that looks so good. And these small ones, so easy to build up and create greetings with dimension. Now I've got the box in place, and here's what I should have done. I should have done it before, but I couldn't help myself. I wanted to add some sequins to the hearts. So I got out my tweezers, put on a little dollop of liquid adhesive, and now I'm just going to carefully place it in and go right there. Boop. I do not recommend this method. This was a little bit trickier to do, right? Boop. Because you can't really press. You just have to kind of go with gravity, but I wanted to do it. Boop. So I did. I feel like I'm playing a game of Operation, you know, take out wrenched ankle, but in this case, pop in silver confetti. But I really do think it turned out cute to have these in, and these are not adding any bulky dimension. This card is still going to fold down, no problem. It's going to be golden, but I thought that was cute. Again, could have added those before I folded it all together, but you know, live and learn. Next, I wanted to take one of my sentiment strips here for a little sub greeting for the card, and so I thought, well, I kind of like Love You Boo, and so I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my sentiment labels, tape that down, and just run that through my die cut machine, and then cut those apart. And then I'll take my Copic marker T10. This is my favorite marker to do this with. It's kind of hard to see here, but I like to swipe over the sides just to make it look like it really is white printed on a black core cardstock. So I've got that. Then I'll add my liquid adhesive to the back of my XOXO greeting. And I'm going to pop that right down on the acetate window so it looks like it's floating. Isn't that cute? I put thin foam squares that I cut in half on the back of Love You Boo because I wanted a little dimension, but I didn't want it to overpower the XO. And then I realized, oh, the XOXO is moving. It's moving and shaking. And that's because of the acetate. It's just very slippery, so I just had to be very careful, right? Just let it adhere. I started to get nervous. I pressed on it and I thought, is this even going to stick? The key with acetate and liquid glue, be patient, walk away. Cathy, walk away. So I did. I walked away. Just let that adhere. But to finish the card, I thought, let's add a little more, right? So I put the Be Mine in the depths, on the innards. And I thought, isn't that cute? So you get this little, this little thing happening down there. What's happening down there? Well, that's what's happening. And then, of course, no card would be complete without a little bit more shine. Now, these little dollops, I'm going to tell you, they were too big. The first one was fine, right? Boop, press that little friend in there. But when I went to the second one and I pressed it down with the boop, I saw the liquid kind of squirt out, and I thought, just be very light with the last one. A boop, if you will, very light. So when I repeated this positioning at the bottom, I was much lighter. But I do wish I would have moved away a little bit from the Be Mine, because I think when you're looking straight down, it feels a little obscured. But you know what? I'm still liking it, because not everybody's looking at everything straight down all the time. Boop. And that is the final sequin. Now this is a very simple design, but I could not believe I made this. And here's the thing. Once everything was completely dry, you got all this dimension, right? What are you going to do? Well, besides admire it, because, I mean, let's be real, you're going to flatten it down just like that so that you can pop it into a regular US A2 envelope. And that is cool. Now, I would use 2 stamps with this for sure, right, to make sure it all goes through the mail. But look what happens when your recipient pulls it out. They pop it up, and holy 3-dimensional guacamole. That is a really cool card. Again, I kept mine so simple, but I think this is the coolest 3D thing, personally, that I've ever made. I hope this inspires you to check out these dies. You can find all of the supplies that I used in today's video linked below in the description box. And I'll see you back here with another card project soon. Thanks so much for watching today. I would love to have you become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And if you do subscribe, be sure to hit the gray bell below the video so that you don't miss the next time I post. Here are a couple other videos that you might be interested in watching. Thanks so much and have a great day.